Well, welcome everyone to this quarter's Parent Tea from the Counseling Center. Thank you if you're joining us in the room. Thank you very much. If you're joining us online, thank you as well. If there's anyone who is not able to see this video or be here in person, this video will also be on the MATCC website that you can view later. Okay. Today we're going to talk about high school courses, graduation expectations, and a few other things. So, yeah, we'll start with graduation requirements. I do want to make sure that parents and students understand that first and foremost. Understanding what they have to take, and then understanding there are electives, things that they can choose later on, but they must get the graduation requirements. We're going to talk about the course selection process. We're going to talk about APs, and then online courses. And I just want to mention SAT testing, just kind of like the timeline for that at the end. And that will lead into my next T. The quarter 3 T will be on these standardized tests. Okay, so that will just lead into our next T. So let's get started. All of this information is in our academic handbook. So if you have any questions, you can go online. Make sure you're on the Type A page. When you first go to the Morrison page, it's just a general page for the system. At the top, please make sure you're selecting Type A, and then go to drop-down menu for academics. And you can find a course catalog, you can find academic handbook, and graduation requirements, among other things, is there. So let's start at the top there. Since we are a Christian school, it's just understood that for every semester that a student is enrolled, they will be in a Bible class. And those are grade specific. So they have a variety of classes. They're grade specific. So there really isn't much choice there. They're not selecting Bible classes. We're just assigning them semester by semester, grade by grade. Okay. The English, they do have to have English all 4 years. It's then in the senior year, they can choose between just regular English 4 or AP Lit. AP Literature is an option there. And both English 4 and AP Literature are Morrison classes taught by Morrison teachers. Mathematics, they do have to have 3 credits as a graduation requirement. But of course, once they meet that requirement, then it's a question of what do they need as far as like higher mathematics, elective mathematics, to prepare them for college, or actually it's maybe admission requirements for certain college majors. And so as we're looking at math courses, we want to make sure they have what is required and then what they need for college. Social studies. Social studies, there are 3 credits required. And we simply build that into the system. Grade 9 does not have a social studies course. Starting in grade 10, they have world history. Grade 11, they will have U.S. history, but they can choose between a regular U.S. history level or an AP U.S. history during grade 11. And again, those are both Morrison classes taught by Morrison teachers. And then in the senior year, they will have government. There are other social studies options that are online if they choose, but the online courses cannot replace those courses. Those 3 social studies courses are required. Anything else they can elect to take, but they must take our world history, U.S. history at one of those levels, and government. Yes, ma'am.
Do the choices for social studies change from year to year?
These do not change. Our Morrison students must take 10th grade world history. They must take a U.S. history at some level, and they must take government. This will not change unless there is a major change system-wide to the curriculum. Yeah, this will not change. Again, they could take, for example, online. There's like a AP Human Geography. There are other social studies classes. Micro and macroeconomics are also an online option.
Not required
They're not required.
And they're not taught at Morrison.
Yeah, again, yeah, those are not taught. Now we do have a 1 semester economics course and a 1 semester personal finance, and that's taught by Mr. Howard Chang. But that class, it really is dependent on the number of students who want it. There's some years we have it, and some years we don't have it because there's not enough demand for it. I must have 5 students in a class to offer that class. And so that's why right now, in a few minutes, I'm going to talk about, I'm already talking to high school students about the courses they're interested in next year. I've already done all of grade 11, all of grade 10. I'm almost finished with grade 9 students. And that's just a preliminary talk. Like, let's just talk through some courses. What are you interested in? The actual registration process, finalizing schedules, is not until semester 2. But I'm already starting these conversations because there are classes like that, the economics, the personal finance, and other classes where I really need to know, do I have 5 students or more? Can I really offer this class? If not, then I have time to adjust the schedule. Yeah, and so the students who wanted that class, like, sorry, we'll have to adjust your schedule. You could take it online or choose another class. And so, yeah, I'm starting those conversations so that I can begin to build the schedule and advise students. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this slide before we move on? Okay. All right. Okay. Science. Science only has 2 credits required for graduation. Again, the phrase that I always use with the students, graduation requirements is what gets you out the door of Morrison, right? But we also need to think, what do you need to prepare for college? And what do you need for certain college majors, like admission into college? So for some students, 2 sciences might be enough because they're not going into the sciences or medical field in college. But for other students, they may need to take 4 sciences. Yeah, so it really is dependent on the student. But as far as Morrison says, graduation requirement, you must have 2 credits. And again, if there are only 2, most universities are at least looking for biology and chemistry at a minimum. Okay, so we obviously have other science classes. For grade 10, we usually give students a choice in science. They can go right to chemistry if they're strong in math and science. They can go to chemistry, but we always have an alternate course where they can have another science and another year of math before they take chemistry in grade 11. Yeah. So if their math and science isn't as strong, they have another year to study before they take chemistry. And so the courses that they can take as an alternate to chemistry, 1 year we do an integrated chemistry and physics. So that gives them an introduction to chemistry. It gives them just an introduction to physics, but it does not replace chemistry and physics. It just gives them an introduction to it. And so they have a foundation of knowledge before they take the full chemistry class or the full physics class. And then that alternates, like for example, this year we offered environmental science as that alternate course. The next year, if they don't want chemistry, they can take integrated chemistry and physics. Yeah.
So the subjects are actually taught at Morrison?
All of the subjects, all the sciences that I'm talking about now are Morrison classes, yes. Yeah, I did not list them all here. We're just talking about the requirements, graduation requirements here. But yes, we have biology, all grade 9 take biology. And then classes they choose from then are maybe the integrated chemistry and physics, environmental science, chemistry, physics, and then we have the AP chemistry and AP biology later on, grades 11 and 12. Yeah. Okay. Graduation requirements for physical education, PE, is 1.5 credits of PE. And so each one of those classes is just a semester long. So that's 3 semesters of PE, and then 1 semester of health. Like grade 10, that's required. It's built into their schedule. And so if they do this, after grade 10, they are finished with their graduation requirement for PE. And then for grades 11 and 12, we have some other like weight training and conditioning classes that are PE elective. They can continue to do that. Those weight conditioning and training, those are popular with the athletes. They want to have a PE to exercise, and then after school they do their sports practice. But anyone can choose those classes, as an elective PE. All right. VPA, that stands for Visual and Performing Arts. So this is the music and also the art classes. And so the graduation requirement is only 1 credit for that. So that's very easy for a student to do that. But if they want more than that, we do have several art classes. We have it's called Foundations of Art, or Art Fundamentals. It's just a variety of different kinds of art in one class. The second semester is like a drawing and sketching class. Another semester class is pottery and painting class. And then we do have an AP level art, but I do recommend that for the older students after they have had the more of the foundational arts. The AP art class that we have is it's called AP Two-Dimensional Art and Design. And so there is some flexibility there. They can do like photography or digital art or painting, watercolor or oil painting, anything that's 2-dimensional and you can hang on the wall, that they create their own portfolio. And so they don't have to sit down and take an exam at the end of the year. Their portfolio is presented digitally to College Board and scored. But they need to do some writing and analysis of their own art, explanation of their own art, and that's a part of their portfolio and part of what's graded. So, and then music, they can take orchestra, band, or choir, and to fulfill that graduation requirement, just 1 year. Now, foreign language. Foreign language, interestingly, it's not a graduation requirement, but I tell my students, it's a requirement, because universities are looking for at least 2 years. Most universities, they're looking for 2 years, 3 years is even better. So I tell them, not a graduation requirement, but a college admission requirement. So yeah, you need to take some foreign language. At least 2 years in the same language is recommended. Some students ask, well, can I do Mandarin and a little bit of French and a little bit of Spanish or some German? And I'm like, well, you can take more than one language, but universities want to see, did you take at least 2 years of the same language? If not, really, you've just gotten an introduction, and then that's it. So I do recommend, if students want to take more than one language, I recommend they take 2 years of one language, 2 years of another language. So that's in 4 years. That's very, very easy. Some students, they double up in language. That would be confusing for me. They may be able to do it, but some of them do Mandarin and Spanish, or classes like that. Here at Morrison, we have Mandarin and we have Spanish. We have Spanish 1 and 2. We're trying to see if our schedule can work for Spanish 3. So I'm not promising it right now. We are looking at the schedule to see if Spanish 3 can work in our schedule. If not, Spanish 3 is still, there are online options for Spanish, German, and French in the online providers that we use. So yeah, if students have any questions about that, or parents have questions, you can contact us. Okay, yes ma'am. Well, you mean at Morrison or online? Or for language? Yeah, it would have to be, here, or it would have to be, yeah, on one of the like online providers. Huh?
It's possible.
Well, right now, we don't have it, and the two online providers that we use, they do not have Japanese. Some students have asked me, but in those cases, the resource they brought for me is like, Mr. Cavalish, can I take this Japanese? It was just kind of a very generic, like, study language online. Yeah, so that will not work. It would have to be an accredited program. That program would have to be able to provide a grade, a credit, transcript. Yeah, so it can't just be a study online. Yeah. Yeah. So it would have to be an accredited program that can actually provide grades and transcripts. Then I might be able to consider it. But right now, it's just we have the two online providers that we use that are accredited, and we will accept that into Morrison. Unfortunately, they do not have Japanese. Yeah. Okay. All right. Online, I have this resource available for parents, and sometimes I hand it out to students just to think about, for all 4 years of their courses. And like I said before, this was just a resource that was online on our website. But now I've actually taken this form, and I've actually personalized it for every high school student. So in my computer now, I have this document, and the document has their name on it. Like, that file is just their name. And so what I'm doing now is anytime I meet with that student, I only refer to that page. We go to that page and we talk together. And if parents come to my office, also we come to that student's page. And what I've done is I begin to color code them. Like, so green would be like, those are the classes that student is taking as a 9th grader. And just as an example, like, if they meet the graduation requirement, then I'll also highlight that green. And so this year, like I said, I've already met with grade 11. I've already met with grade 10. I'm almost finished with grade 9. And so every one of those students already has this form with their name on it, and it's shared with them. So parents, you can ask your child, hey, can we sit down, and would you please pull up this document that Mr. Cavalish shared with you? Let's talk about your classes for next year, or your junior year, or your senior year. Okay, so this is I want to make this kind of the go-to for like course planning. Now, like I said, not everything is on here, but these are the major courses, and the progression of those courses from grades 9 to 12. And just to let you know, if they're in the same block here, they can actually be taken, some of them at the same year, because they're in different times of the day. Okay? So, for example, you can look here in senior year, it says AP Biophysics and AP Chem. Now, a student probably wouldn't want to take all of those courses, but the reason they're listed there is they're all in different times of the day, and they're available, in that year. Okay, and so yeah. So as we're going through, I'll also put the school year. I'll put that at the top, like 23-24 year, 24-25 school year. I'll begin to fill that in up there, and so we can start planning out and looking at classes, the progression of classes across all 4 years. again, it's subject to change, and we can make adjustments. Yeah, but this is what I would like to use for all high school students. And for those of you who might be watching this, and your student is a middle schooler, say current grade 8, I will be going into the 8th grade guidance classes. I work with Ms. Rafferty, and during the second semester, maybe even probably mid-semester, March, April, I'll be going into 8th grade guidance classes, and I'll be giving them at least 2 lessons where I talk about our high school program. I talk about graduation requirements, and I instruct them on how to sign up for classes. And so we'll do that mid to end of semester 2 this school year, so they're ready for high school. Okay. Yeah, this is just a sample of the students' schedule. Even middle schoolers have a similar schedule. It's a combination of what we call blocks, like 2 periods combined for a longer period of time, or single blocks where it's about 40. Each period is about 40 minutes, and blocks are about 80 minutes. It does get very busy, and there's a lot of color there. I color code everything. Yeah, in my office, I have all of these. And so again, as I'm talking to students about like future classes and future planning, we can look at the schedules and we can see like where do 11th grade students like take this class, or where is this class in the senior schedule. Yeah. The last period of the day is where we have all of the music classes. That's different than middle school. Middle school is during the day more. High school music is in that period 9 for either Monday and Wednesday is band and orchestra, Tuesday, Thursday is chorale, and if they're not in music, we have what we call flex, or flexible schedule. If they need to meet with a teacher, all high school teachers are available during flex, except for music, the music teachers. Yeah, and so if students need to go and work with their teacher, something needs to be retaught. If they have a chance for reassessment and they need to redo something, this would be a time that they're doing it during that flex time. So I just wanted to present that as well, so you're aware of kind of what our schedule looks like during the week, if your kids don't talk about it much at home.
What's the time for yearbook?
Oh, yearbook, yes. Yearbook is any of these period 5, 6 blocks, they have yearbook. But then these are different groups right here. The dark green and the light green are different groups. And so Mr. Smith asked, he's like, it's great if I have 2 groups, because then more students can take the class. But I need a common meeting time for everybody. So then what we do is they have a common meeting here on Thursday. Yeah. And so this is their 5th class. And then these single periods here become the students' study hall.
So that's the time for
foreign
languages.
Yes, and so if they're in foreign language in one block, they would have to have yearbook in the other block.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's why there's 2 different colors there. Yeah, there are a lot of classes during that period 5, 6 block. There's a lot of elective things there. There's language there, there's art there. In the higher grades, some of the AP level courses are there. Like the regular English is somewhere else in the schedule in the morning. But then if they choose the AP level literature, for example, AP Lit is during one of those 5, 6 blocks. Yeah. And then our regular chemistry is in the afternoon, but AP chemistry is in the other 5-6 block. You know, and again, this is why I display all of these in my room, in my office, as I'm talking to kids about future course selection. We look at the conflicts. If you want these 2 classes, well, you have to take one year, and then you have to take the other like a different year, because you can't take them at the same time. And so that's why long-term planning is very important. Mapping it out and understanding where the classes are in the schedule,
So
to avoid the conflicts. Yeah.
So does Mr. Smith hope at least 2 years yearbook? Or
No, not necessarily 2 years, but a lot of students who do get into yearbook, they really enjoy it, and so they can, and many of them do take multiple years of yearbook, and that's okay. But if they do that, they have to understand they have to choose yearbook over other classes in some cases, or they have to just make sure they choose the class they want first, and then, like I said, the yearbook is available in both blocks. So we just look ahead. They say, okay, I want this class, so my yearbook has to go in the other block. And so, yeah, they have that flexibility with the yearbook. Yeah, good question. Yeah, it can get very complex. Yeah, and if we add a class or change a class, then this is completely redone, and we hope there's no major changes, but we do have slight adjustments year to year that we may need to make. So again, that's why I'm collecting information from students now, and right now and beginning semester 2, we will start building the schedule for the next year. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, as I've already mentioned, I will meet with 8th graders in their guidance classes in semester 2, and I will be teaching them all of this information. And so for those 8th graders who are choosing 9th grade classes for next year, most of the schedule it's pretty much set. The math that they're in now in 8th grade is sort of they have like an exit tests in math that will determine their 9th grade math, and a lot of the 9th grade courses are already selected for them. So really, for those 8th graders going to be 9th graders, really they're letting me know what they would like to take as electives. Really, like what language would you like, what art or music would you like. But most of the core classes at the beginning of high school, they're pretty much set. Yeah. And again, the current grades 9, 10, and 11, I've already begun meeting with them in preliminary meetings to talk about their schedules. Now, many parents are always curious about the AP courses. Again, these are the AP courses that we do have here, and so those, again, AP Advanced Placement really means that those courses are approaching college level work, and so there are some universities that will accept this course as college credit. Okay, but that's not a guarantee. There's always a caveat, as I say. There are things that you have to do to actually get that credit. So at Morrison, if you take an AP course, you must take the exam. The students must take the exam. Okay, and then you can go onto university websites. Universities will publish a list, and they will say, these are the AP that we will accept as college credit if you took it in high school, but they will also say you have to achieve a certain score on the AP exam. And some will, the scale for the AP exam is 1 to 5. And some universities will say, if you get a 4 or a 5, we will accept it as college credit. Some say, no, we'll only accept it if you get a 5. We'll accept it as college credit. And again, those universities, they put out a list. They don't always accept all of the AP courses. So it is important that you look at wherever the student is applying and you want to apply these AP courses as credit, you need to be researching that university. What do they actually accept and what score do they require? Okay? Because if you read College Board material, they say take APs and get college credit. It's that easy. There are some steps to that, and it depends on the university, really. Yeah. Okay. So now we do have limits for our students. For ninth graders, the only AP that they can take is if their Mandarin teachers say, yes, their next Mandarin level is AP Mandarin in grade 9. Those are our very advanced students. Okay, and so sometimes there's students and parents that they really want the AP now, and so I do trust our Mandarin teachers. They give exams and they interview and they try to do their best to make sure that student is being placed in Mandarin correctly. Because if they're placed in AP Mandarin and they're not ready for it, that's a huge challenge, especially for a ninth grader new to high school. But yeah, the 10th graders can take an online course, but that's typically an online course because the APs that we offer here, they usually have what we call prerequisites. They haven't had enough courses yet in grades 9 to be ready for the AP level courses. And so those usually come in 11th grade and 12th grade. And so, yeah, they can take more APs in the higher grades. 2 in 11th grade and 3 APs in the 12th grade. Okay? And again, that also includes online. So if they say, oh, I want to take all these APs at Morrison and an online, well, no, it still has to be 1 or 2 or 3. It has to fit in that limit. And also talking about APs, we do have an option of what we call exam only. And that needs to be chosen very, very wisely, because what that means is the student is not taking a Morrison course and they're not taking an online course to prepare for that exam. They're studying on their own for that exam. And so the only thing they're doing with me here at Morrison is they're just signing up for the exam only. And so parents and students also need to understand, exam only. Our teachers are not obligated to support them or tutor them in these exam only classes. Okay, and so I won't get into it now, but if you're interested, I do collect the data year to year on the AP scores, and I differentiate in my spreadsheets between Morrison APs, online APs, and exam-only AP scores. And so you can see the trends and the averages. Morrison APs, students trend in the 4s and 5s. The onlines, there can be a range, like 3, 4, 5. The exam-onlys, average like 2s and 3s. Now, of course, in any bell curve, there are the outliers, right? There are students in Morrison APs, online APs. There are some students that score low, and then in the onlines and exam onlys, there are students that score high, 4 or 5. But the averages for exam onlys are sometimes in the 3s, which, if you're going for the college credit, isn't effective if the universities are looking for 4s and 5s. So I just say that to inform you that choosing to study on their own and do an exam only is a big endeavor, because they have to do that on top of all of their Morrison work. And they're not getting Morrison credit for it. So choose wisely. And the student needs to plan out their courses and their workload to accommodate for that.
I've got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So with the AP course, like the benefits is you can possibly earn college credits from it.
Yes.
But are there any other benefits, or are there like
Well,
courses that
even
requires AP
yeah,
level?
even if the university doesn't accept it as college credit, there is the benefit of having those courses on the high school transcript. It does show it shows their academic performance in more challenging and rigorous courses. Yeah, so there is that benefit, even if they don't get college credit for it. It does show this student chose to take more challenging courses in their workload. Yeah.
And the other questions I have is like with the exam only options, it's still like in the overall GPA is also including
Yeah,
whatever.
exam only. None of that shows up on the Morrison transcript.
Okay.
It only shows up on the Morrison transcript if it is a Morrison AP or an approved online. If I approve it and they take it, then I'm promising, yes, I will transfer that grade onto your transcript at Morrison. Yeah, but the exam onlys, that does not go on any Morrison document. Okay, and also for future thinking, just understand that I, as the high school counselor from Morrison, can only report Morrison classes, what's on the transcript. For SAT scores and AP scores, when they're applying for college, students must go online and request the College Board send those scores to the universities. I cannot report those for the students. I don't record them on their transcript and send that. They go online and say, College Board, send this SAT score to these universities and send these AP scores to the universities. And for some of those, it's free up to a certain number, and then College Board begins to charge fees to send additional scores. Yeah, so that's all online on the student's College Board account under my SAT and my AP. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I just want to go quickly through these, just things that that people need to know about online courses. Again, we do have a partnership with 7-Star Academy. 7-Star. So that means if I order that 7-Star course for a student, we get a discount because we have a partnership with them and we order in bulk. So we do have a partnership. But we also have another online provider called Ethos. And so if 7-Star does not have the course and Ethos does have it, then I will consider Ethos. Both are accredited and Christian school online providers. So 7-Star, my understanding is they're completely online. Ethos is a real school that also provides their content online. Yeah. So if a student chooses an Ethos course, they do need to be aware that Ethos would then require more like live classroom interaction, like watching that teacher live teach the course. And so that changes the dynamic of taking the online course, because they have to arrange it. There has to be a time in their schedule where they're actually able to be online watching that teacher teach the course. And with the time difference, that can be very challenging. it can be very challenging. Yeah. 7-star, there are typically some requirements for an occasional like one-on-one, like a Zoom or a FaceTime meeting with their teacher, but that's typically maybe once a month. With Ethos, it would be weekly, like long teaching sessions. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the online courses, the students ask me, those are all approved. I work with Mr. Sawyer to make sure we approve all of those. So once those are approved, the online credit and GPA does go on to the student's transcript. Yeah. And as you as parents, you pay tuition to us here at Morrison. That does cover one online course a year. Okay? And again, the APs, if it's an online AP, it must fit within those grade level limits. Okay? And lastly, I do want to talk about testing. This year, it was our first year that the MAP testing has gone up one grade level, and it has included grade 9. And so for grade 9 students, they must take the MAP. And then we have made the PSAT optional, and parents can pay for that. And so that's already occurred this year. And so again, for future 9th graders, I just want to make parents aware and students aware, you will be taking the MAP, and you can watch for announcements and emails from the Morrison Academy Counseling Center. We'll let you know when it's possible to sign up for the PSAT as a 9th grader. Students who are going to be in 10th grade and 11th grade, I automatically sign students up for the PSAT because the PSAT becomes our standardized test for grade 10 and 11. Okay? Yeah. The actual SAT test, grade 11, I do suggest that students do take an SAT, at least one, maybe even two if they feel that it's necessary for their score during grade 11. And it also depends on, the timing of the test depends on their math as well. The SAT does contain up to Algebra 2 level math. And so if they're an 11th grader and they're just getting to Algebra 2, then I would suggest second semester SAT after they've had more exposure to the Algebra 2 curriculum. But if they're already there at Algebra 2 in grade 10, then of course grade 11 they could sign up for an SAT. I do have some seniors then, if they still feel like they could increase their SAT score, I do advise them to take a 12th grade SAT early in the 12th grade year. We will have an early SAT here, like August, end of August, we usually have it. And then we just had one in December. And then we usually have the March SAT. Those 3 test times are usually what we have here at MAT. There are other months have SAT testing. And so all of the test sites and test dates can be found on the SAT or College Board website. Yeah. Okay. The AP exams, right now, the AP Mandarin, the languages, are the only ones that are computer-based right now. But there are plans, College Board does have plans to make all APs digital eventually. They've started this year. Some of them are digital, but only in the United States. And so, but over the next couple of years, we do see that those APs will become more and more digital internationally as well. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So again, I do encourage like all high school students to begin doing some college research. Yeah. On their College Board account, they can go to an area of that account. It's called Big Future. And Big Future has resources where they can start doing college research. And they can also start doing like major and career research. And so I do encourage them to do that so they can begin to have an understanding of what they might like to do in the future. Because that will guide high school course selection, and it will guide the college application process as well. So, all right. Well, that is all I have for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact myself or Ms. Tracy Liu. And if you need to meet with us or you need Mandarin translation, then please contact Ms. Tracy Liu, and she's happy to help you as well. So thank you very much.